G'day, guys. Thank you for joining into my YouTube channel once again. So, today we will be touching on solving the Australian housing crisis and addressing affordable coastal land and the potential of modular homes. And what we're really aiming for here is we are trying to regain stability in the middle class and allow the middle class or the rising middle class access to affordable homes and housing. Obviously, you still have to purchase the land with a modular home, and you have to purchase the modular home to put on the land, but it allows you an opportunity to get an investment property in the property market, which then allows you to uh, make a start acquiring some capital growth, gaining some rental income, and sort of start building your wealth and getting on that property ladder that isn't really sort of possible for a lot of people at the moment. So I'm just going to go through this presentation today, and really just focus on a solution to this economic problem that we're currently facing in a lot of Western countries at the moment, and especially in Australia. So, all right, we're going to get into it. So, the Australian housing crisis has been a persistent issue characterised by skyrocketing property prices, an ever-growing demand for affordable housing, and a lack of sustainable development solutions. In response to this challenge, an innovative approach that combines purchase of affordable coastal land with the use of modular homes, such as those offered by Expandify, has the potential to revolutionise the housing market and provide a viable long-term solution. So Expandify is just an example business that I'm using that does in this presentation that does modular homes to quite a high sort of building standard, where you can still get household insurance on your property, which is important, especially if you buy in a coastal-based location on the east coast of Australia that is cyclone prone. Okay, so we're going to touch on these points, as I sort of just said. Financial planning and saving strategies. I'll sort of touch on that a little bit. We might have to do some subsequent based videos to get through all these points here. All right, so the Australian housing crisis has multifaceted causes, including population growth. As Australia's population continues to grow, the demand for housing increases, placing pressure on the existing housing stock and driving up prices. So some of this can be contributed to foreign investment post-COVID. A lot of, sort of the Asian-based market sort of came in with a lot of Chinese, especially to do with when housing collapsed in China or Evergreen collapsed. We saw a lot of Chinese coming to Australia to buy up properties and investment properties in Australia to secure their property portfolios in a safer market. So that was one of the reasons, one of the factors that contributed to um, the housing crisis. Another thing is urbanisation. The trend of urbanisation has led to a concentration of the population in major cities, resulting in limited housing availability and increasing property values. So, if we look at where Australia's 25 million people are, its majority or a large portion of that, I think it's around 80%, are in those capital cities across the east coast of Australia. We look at the size of Australia, but most of the country is uninhabitable land or not good quality land. So uh, there would have to be some serious infrastructure and development upgrades to make living more desirable out in the desert-based land in Australia. Um, so next, we've got investment properties. So the rise of investment properties has contributed to higher prices as investors seek to maximise their returns in the property market. So a lot of this too is to do with negative gearing based policies in Australia. So negative gearing is if I've got, I'm just trying to give you a bit of an example here without doing a separate video, probably be beneficial with some of these terms, but Negative gearing is essentially where you borrow majority of the value of the house and you're a higher income earner and the rent does not cover your home loan or your loan on that house, and you then use the money lost on that home as a tax deduction off your high income. So if you're a miner or a doctor or a lawyer or a higher income earner in a higher income earning based profession, um, that you would then look at, or an engineer, you would then look at utilizing that strategy potentially to reduce your taxable income in Australia. Okay, so that's something that sort of favors the higher earning um, uh, people or professionals in Australia. Um, Now, the last one is, regulatory constraints. So, zoning regulations and building codes can restrict the supply of new housing developments. This can exacerbate the crisis. So, with that as well, um, cost of materials with building increased. With Australia's quite a heavily unionised workforce as well, which then pushes wages higher in the construction and trade-based and labour-based sort of workforces. So that all kind of just factors into that housing crisis a little bit. There are a whole lot of other little angles and multiple lanes I could go into, but as a whole, that's kind of where we're sort of sitting there. So this is just identifying the economic problem at the moment. To address these issues, we must put forward creative and sustainable solutions, and we also need a combination of affordable coastal land and modular home present um, within these solutions to formulate a policy that allows Australians to get back in to the housing market, because we're not seeing at this point big amounts of infrastructure projects, increasing rail lines and building government-based housing um, for individuals that can't afford to buy in locations across capital cities. So, we have to utilize remote work options and buying affordable coastal-based land with a modular home to sort of move, get yourself on that wealth ladder. So it's sort of time to sort of take action into your own hands if you're one to do that. So, affordable coastal land next. So, um, I'll get to that just in a sec after this over here. So, impacts of the housing crisis on Australians. Obviously, it increases stress levels because people's debt to income ratio is, getting bigger and bigger. So the debt's getting bigger, and the income is getting smaller because due to a lack of real wage growth within this country. In a lot of the middle class professions, there hasn't been a lot of wage growth because, there's factors such as with increased skilled workers from immigrants, they are typically work for businesses will hire them on less money than a skilled Australian-based worker, and then therefore that can drive down wage growth. That's one factor. So, looking at all those kind of factors can, really increase the stress level of the middle income earner. Homeowners versus renters divide. So, this is becoming bigger and bigger and creating disparities in the housing market, with landlords and people with investment properties raising the rent to offset all the other costs that are increasing, such as body corporate, building insurance and all the other things that come with owning a property. So when we see inflation in those areas, that then stems over to landlords increasing the rent. So, this all sort of links back in. So government policies and interventions here, obviously they can offer first home buyers grants, which is what the Queensland government's doing at the moment, 30,000 first home buyers. I think it's under 750K, first homeowner building grant. So if you could try and utilize some of that with your modular home, I think that would be an effective way of sort of getting a bit of free equity from the government and then using that to get a property on the map, rent it out, short-term Airbnb or long-term rental for that steady income if you can. Short-term Airbnb requires a bit more maintenance. So that's just things to sort of think about there, start building capital growth in a property. All right, so next I'm going to go to affordable coastal land. All right, so to do this, we need to be able to identify affordable coastal regions. So Australia's vast coastline offers an abundance of land that is both affordable and desirable. By focusing on coastal areas outside of major metropolitan regions, it is possible to secure land at a lower cost while still providing residents with a higher quality of life. Key benefits of coastal land include the natural beauty. Coastal areas are renowned for their stunning landscapes, providing residents with scenic views and access to beaches and natural reserves. So, if you like snorkeling, sometimes that's pretty cool to be on the beach, or if you like surfing and you can buy on a beach that where there's some good waves. This all links back into health and well-being. Living by the coast has been associated with numerous health benefits, including reduced stress, increased physical activity, and improved mental well-being. Um, and I think one of the big things is as to why I'm sort of pushing this too is because community development in a lot of those coastal areas, and as people move into those areas and you build more homes in those areas, more it's good a good injection of spending in the local economy, and then this can sort of help a small coastal community thrive and create further growth and foster good sort of social connections and support networks amongst residents. Economic opportunity wise, for buying in a coastal based region, can offer diverse economic opportunities from tourism and hospitality to fishing and marine related industries. So if you're kind of like environmental science, or you're just the guy that is or the girl that's a surfer, likes traveling, and you wouldn't mind living by the beach, buy um, a block of land, put a modular house on it, and then start up a local surfboard business where you do surf lessons and hire out surfboards in a regional based sort of surfside town. Then there's always sort of opportunities there that you can create for yourself, and that might be your side hustle on the side of working a remote based role. Um, so that's what we're sort of looking at there. I'm just going to bring up quickly here just an article from realestate.com. So this is where you can buy land on Queensland's coast for 125K or less. So there's some of the towns here. So, Cooktown, I had a bit of a look there on realestate.com. I can just have a look here. I can show you sort of what's been sold here at Cooktown. And there's just land here. I think we've got on no property type, and we will go to the land. Okay, we'll do a quick search here. So this gives you a bit of an idea of what you can sort of get Cooktown for 100K. So you can come down here. Okay, there's some residential land there for 60K, 200K here, sold, 200K. So, with 200K, you can get a 500 square meter block at Cooktown, which isn't too bad. And then there's one here that was sold at the end of 22 for 93K. So, and that's not too far from the CBD either. So you could just get your block of land there, level it out, around 100K, and then put a expandified based home on top of that. And you would be pretty sort of set up, ready to go. And as it sort of says over here, the median house price in Cooktown is 420K. So, you could, if you put 100K down for the land and then you put down around 150K for the modular home, you've got some, factor in transportation and setting it all up and everything, you've got a property there for 260, 270K, which is 150K less than 420K here. So you're acquiring some capital growth, getting that up and running straight away, most likely. So that's a strategy. Um, Another one here that's quite appealing in terms of a coastal town to create an investment through a modular home is Mission Beach. So if we look here, Mission Beach is a real oasis in terms of, um, it's quite untouched. It's quite an environmental haven because of the tropical rainforest up in the far north, great hiking, a really long sort of 14-kilometer beach that um, is pretty nice. And then the tourism and the bananas and the freshly grown produce up there is also quite appealable to a lot of people. So if I'm looking now at Mission Beach, okay, residential land for around 100K. Okay, we've got this one here. So that's sold. These are all sold. So you can sort of see, okay, you've got Dunk Island over here, which is you can do a day trip to. You've got snorkeling over here for the Great Barrier Reef, not too far from Cairns, and you could just set up your Expandify modular home on this block right here, and you've got yourself a beautiful property here, in a pretty nice sort of location. So that you could potentially rent out. So that's just sort of two examples there on what you could do. I'm going to come back over to these guys next. So modular homes by Expandify. So these guys represent a cutting edge solution to the housing crisis. These homes are prefabricated in a factory setting and then transported to the site for assembly. Key advantages of modular homes include the cost effectiveness. Modular homes are typically more affordable than your sort of standard homes that you have high building costs on, and the cost savings can be passed on to the home buyers, making the house more accessible. It allows you to have a much smaller loan from the bank, which allows for more movement, less stress. And as I said, it's just a more affordable way to get on the property market or ladder. Speed of construction. The construction of modular homes is significantly faster than traditional building methods, as the majority of the work is completed off-site. This reduces the time required to provide new housing, addressing the urgent need for affordable homes. Sustainability. Modular homes are often built using sustainable materials and practices, reducing their environmental impact. Additionally, the precision of factory construction minimizes waste and energy consumption. Quality and durability. Modular homes are constructed to high standards, ensuring they are durable and resilient. This guarantees that they can withstand the challenges of coastal environments and provide long-lasting housing solutions. And then you can also do customization as well with modular homes. Now, some of the things you have to be mindful of is environmental protection based laws. When you're putting down your modular home, you've got to check all that out with the local councils. You can't just sort of obviously buy a block of land and then have a crack. You want to know before you buy the block of land, what are the zoning laws? You've dealt with the council, and you want to make sure that that idea is going to work. That's just all part of the process. All right. So long-term benefits of coastal living, that was sort of what I was sort of talking about before. Okay. So modular homes, a bit more on this here. So as I said, they're prefabricated structures built in sections designed for quick assembly on site. The benefits, they offer speed, cost effectiveness, and various customization options, which is pretty cool. You've got a variety of designs there, sustainability focus, affordability, and quality. One of the key things with modular homes is how fast you can get the modular home up and running versus, doing a build through a building company where there might be delays and there might be shortcuts. I guess, with a modular based house, a bit more about the product that you're getting. You just want to be factoring in things like, the two examples that I just gave. Mission Beach is a heavy rainfall area, high humidity, and Cooktown, quite high humidity as well. And if you factor that in with modular homes, you want to ensure that um, you're consulting with whatever modular home company you're going with to sort of um, reduce the risk of mold and other types of problems that can occur in those based climates. So there's a few things to sort of keep in mind, but this is just an idea as a solution to be able to acquire more properties for value that property was before pandemic and property prices went up. So um, that was that there. Financial planning and saving strategies next. Um, so yeah, obviously you've got to try and save up as best as you can for this, because some banks won't lend much money for land, or they might not lend for the modular home. So you might have to borrow off somebody else, sorry, within a family member or something like that. So, obviously you want to do budgeting, tracking everything that you've got. The easiest way is just to export the data out of your internet banking into Excel, and then get a data analyst or an accountant to manipulate that data and build a budgeting spreadsheet for you. And then you can track your spending and then identify cost cutting areas and then prioritize saving goals from there. There's also other apps that you can use to do this, but data sensitivity is always an important factor. Utilizing government grants and incentives. So as I said, you want to try and utilize that as much as you can. First homeowner grant, first building grant. Use it to sort of get your own house going, because that's free equity, and then you're going to get some free equity as well by acquiring the land and putting the modular home on top of that. Okay, and then some alternate financing options here. As I sort of said, you can sort of go into credit unions and community banks as an alternative to financing for a home. But once again, that comes down to personal preference, how you want to sort of manage it money wise. I would try and save as much as you possibly can and try and keep that debt to an absolute minimum, because that is ultimately what is going to get you ahead long term. So the more equity you can get in an idea or an investment property like this, better you're going to be long term. Okay, crowdfunding and peer-to-peer lending. You get some contracts drawn up there if you have some high net worth individuals in your family, and then sort of work out a way of doing it from there. You could even get somebody to, let's just say this model, cost you 270K, for example, to for this particular project, and you don't have, let's say you don't have any money, you could find 5 people that are all willing to put in, let's just say 50K each, or 50, a bit over 50K each, gets you up to the 270K that you need to get the property up and running. Or it might be 5 people at 60K each. And then what you say is you go, okay, well, we're going to sort of, if I'm the sixth person here, we're going to split the value of the house, and we're going to divide it by 6. You guys are raising the capital. I'm going to do all the management and look after the property. I'm going to build the fence and do the value adding, and everyone's going to get their share within the property. That's another way of doing it. I personally probably wouldn't go down that path, because you would get a higher return with the stock market long term, investing in an exchange traded fund that matches the S&P 500 index. But that's another option there for people that just want to get a share in a property and try and build up their net worth that way. Okay. So we won't go into any examples there. I'm just going to leave that for today. All right, so conclusion, solving the Australian housing crisis requires careful innovation and multifaceted solutions. The combination of affordable coastal land and modular homes, such as those provided by Expandify, represents a practical and promising approach by leveraging the benefits of coastal living and the efficiency of modular construction. It is possible to create new housing developments that are both affordable and sustainable, addressing the urgent need for accessible housing and improving the quality of life for countless Australians. If you enjoyed this, guys, or you got something out of it, be sure to hit the thumbs up and hit the subscribe button down below. And I'll look forward to catching you in the next video. Cheers.